Hello. Today in the shop, we're going to be working outside the shop. We're going to be shredding the field. The field has gotten pretty long, and it's October, so I want to shred it before the snow comes. So we're going to shred the field. Okay, so before we shred, I'm going to put in some of these stakes into the field to mark the boulders, because when you shred over boulders, it tends to mess up your, destroy your shredder blades. Don't ask me why, I know. But anyway, so we're going to go stick some of these in. Okay, so here's what we're doing. Rocks like this that stick up a ways are problematic. So I'm going to mark them. They're still in a Nice little hole. And put it in the fiberglass pole. There we go. Right around the base. Tighten it up. Ta-da! Big old nest of boulders here. Okay. Well, I know I've missed some for sure. I'm just gonna have to be careful and mark them as I go. All right, now it's time to start shredding. I think we're all ready to go. Well, we ran into some problems. When I was shredding the field, the shredder started to have some vibrations, excessive vibrations. And so brought it into the shop and I basically just checked some basic stuff. Checked to see if the blades were loose. I just replaced those, so that was suspect. They're very tight. Checked the torque on those. And then just went through and lubed the drivetrain. Checked the oil in the gearbox. And that seemed to be a bit high, but I don't think that would cause vibration. So at this point, now I'm taking a look at the slip clutch. And this is something that basically allows the drivetrain to slip relative to the cutters underneath. And it is something you're supposed to check, and I never have. So basically, I'm taking a look at that, and you know, we'll see how that goes. Hopefully we'll be able to get this thing tuned up and running smooth again. Okay, so to adjust the slip clutch, you need to back off each one of these retaining nuts on the springs 2 complete rotations. So I basically marked each bolt and I numbered them. and I'm going around and basically loosening them up 2 complete turns, and then you're supposed to let the clutch discs slip. So what I did is I marked these are the discs that are supposed to slip on this clutch. So you basically put a scribe mark across them so you can see if they've actually slipped. And I just have 2 more bolts to back off, 7 and 8 here, and then we'll turn it on, and you're just supposed to let it run a few seconds and let it slip. Okay, so as you can see, I've marked each nut. Now I'm going to back this off. This is a 5/8 on the back and 11/16 on the front. So I'm just looking for that silver mark. That's 1 rotation. To come back around. Yeah, that's 2 rotations. So, got 1 more to do. Then we can check, make sure this thing can slip. 1 rotation. 2. Okay, 2 rotations on all of those nuts. Now, this disc should slip, and 1 and 2, that hash mark should move. So let's see. Okay, I gotta crank her up. Okay, now that clutch should have slipped, so let's take a look at it. Slip. Rotation, but not slip. That's interesting. Well, the clutch rotated, but it did not slip. The plates didn't slip relative to each other, so they do seem to be stuck. So we're going to try this some more. Yeah, so it does look like we got a problem. The clutches aren't really slipping relative to each other, the plates, so we're going to try and run it in some more. Well, the slip clutch is not slipping, so we're going to have to take it apart and fix it. Okay, so clutch out. I'm going to have to basically take this whole thing apart and look at these discs and see why they're not slipping. Okay, so per the manual, I've already backed all these nuts off 2 full turns. So I'm going to tighten them back up. I'm going to measure each spring gap and then disassemble the whole thing and reassemble it once. Well, the goal is to see why these plates are sticking. Apparently they're stuck together. So I'm going to unstick them. So here we go. Okay, so I've tightened the bolts back up from where I had them, when it was mounted in a position to slip. So these are the apparently, theoretically the stock positions. Measured all the distances the lengths of each spring for each bolt. Now I'm going to take it apart and see why these clutch plates are slipping. But I'm going to keep these in order, I guess. I don't know. Why not? Yeah, so taking a look at this, everything looks pretty good. You know, prior to loosening it up and running it in, it was clearly stuck. So that was probably our problem. And I understand this a lot better now. So yeah, I think we're in good shape to reassemble and get the tractor, get the shredder operational again. Okay, just popping the bolts and springs back on in order. I don't know how important it is really that it's done in order, but mainly I think just the spring length is the critical bit, but what the heck. Just snugging this up all the way around, and then I'll adjust these to the correct spring lengths, which I've recorded on my handy 2x4. Okay, so this one is at right about, you know, 28-ish, 28.8, 28.61. If I rotate this around one more time, let's see what it is. Because they should be at the yellow marks, because those are the straight up marks. Okay, that's 27.46, maybe 26. So that's too tight. So I was closer on the last rotation, so I'm going to back it off. This is, yeah, 27.76. That's really close. 28.25. So we're going to go with that. 3. Well, this is number 3, and they're at 27.85. It's 27.71. That's right on the money. Good. Okay, went around and checked the distances, and they all look pretty darn good. So let's stick it back on. Okay, time to start. Try and give this thing a try. Okay, so I think we're all set. Need to get back out there and continue to shred the field. Okay, field shredded. We are complete. And turned out pretty good. There's some spots I could clean up, but crow's yelling at us. Well, looks pretty good. All right, we'll see you next time.